People are thirsty for communion, fellowship with another person in relationship, in marriage and all of that. Because people are thirsty, people can be desperate. Thirst or hunger can lead you to desperation.
True.
And people that are hungry can just eat anything they see. When you meet young people, what are they thirsty for?
I think most of the people that I've met, the vacuum they are trying to fill is one of importance. Self-worth.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the major things that a lot of them have been getting wrong.
Yeah.
They want to build an image for themselves, to be seen. That is like the major thing for them. They want to be seen. I have seen young people go down the wrong path in life, and I've seen some die as a result of fighting, as a result of wrong decisions, and I've seen all those things growing up. And for me, it was a miracle, not getting into that kind of life.
Where you came from, how did it affect you, and how is it affecting? Is it still affecting you?
I wouldn't say it's still affecting me, but I think it's a process. But then it definitely has affected me in lots of ways, in decisions I've made in the past. And I'm coming from a place where, growing up as a young child and teenager, and even a young adult, I didn't see possibilities. I don't know if you understand.
I get you, but I'm going to pause you.
Yes, sir.
That word just hit me. I did not see possibilities. I need you to expound on that before you even continue. Godly Conversations. Welcome to Godly Conversations podcast. I am your host, Uwem, and if it is your first time watching, I'm so excited to have you listen and watch today's episode. Today's not a solo episode as usual. I have a guest with me, our good brother, minister, musician, instrumentalist, Mr. Abraham. I'm happy to have you.
Thank you very much, sir.
So welcome. Please feel very free. And I know we're going to have a beautiful conversation. When I saw your story and everything that you shared, I already know that it's going to bless anyone that's going to listen and watch this conversation. But before we go into, people getting to know you, Godly Conversations, if it is your first time coming in, I believe Godly Conversations brings transformation. Because as much as evil communication corrupt good manners, Godly Conversations will build good manners. It will enhance good manners. It will make people become better. And in our culture, we have a lot of noise and a lot of things on social media. Everybody pick up the mic and sit and talk about anything that they feel passionate about talking about. And we as God's people, we can't keep quiet. We need to bring conversations that are bringing light into the darkness, bringing a voice of reason to the noise that is flying all around. And then that is the reason that God inspired me to actually start this podcast. And like I've been sharing it, that the inspiration came from the conversation between Jesus and the woman at the well.
Wow.
When Jesus met that woman, at the end of that conversation, she felt seen, she felt heard, she felt known, she felt understood, and she felt loved.
Sure.
But that is the basic need of every human. You want to feel heard, you want to be seen, you want to be known, you want to be understood, you want to be loved. But even if you're not fully understood, at least what we endeavor to do is that let's throw someone's story, maybe through Abraham's story, you feel seen, you feel heard, you hear part of your story in anything we get to share in today's conversation. So that was actually the inspiration behind this, that I realized that Jesus didn't preach to the woman. He just had a free-flowing conversation with her.
Yes.
And that conversation transformed her. And that is what I believe, that every godly conversation will bring transformation to anybody that gets to listen. So I am so excited to have you and have you share your life and share your story with us. So what are you musing on?
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, same here. I'm excited you are here.
Thank you, sir. I'm just passionate about young people like myself and wanting to see them live the life of Christ, the life that God would intend for us to be living. Because I see, like you said earlier, there is a lot of noise, there is a lot of voices.
Yeah.
You don't even need to go too far. They are everywhere around you.
Yeah,
you just look in one direction, and then there is something pointing to a negative impact on the life of people, young people especially. So when I see these things, and it feels like we can't do much. So I'm passionate about seeing how these young people can be drawn to God.
What started that passion for you? Can you lead us there?
Okay. Well, for me, growing up, I grew up in let me mention the name of the places. I grew up in Gwagwalada.
Okay.
And in a place called Angwandudu. It's a very, if you are in Abuja especially, you will be familiar with that place. And it's a place where, the secondary school I attended, whenever anything bad happens in school, they just know it's somebody from Agwandudu. When they hear fights, when they hear issue of this, stealing of any sort, they just know it is somebody from that place. So I have seen young people go down the wrong path in life, and I've seen some, die as a result of fighting, as a result of wrong decisions, and I've seen all those things growing up. And for me, it was a miracle, not getting into that kind of life. Living among, it's not like from very tender age. So it was a miracle not being carried away. So with that kind of experience, whenever I see them, I feel this, this passion. I just wish there's something we can just do, beyond just talking.
Yeah, I think I like that. So your background actually informed, kind of like built a passion for you.
Yes, sir.
Because, like you say, it's a miracle. I actually like to know what miracle really happened that got you. You grew up in that place, but the place didn't get into you. Like, you're not breathing that place. You're breathing a different air, even though you grew up from that very place. So I would actually like to know that. But before you share that, I'm actually intrigued by your mindset of growing up in a certain place. And then you choose to say, okay, I'm passionate about these people. That, the environment was toxic. The environment was not okay. And it's almost like where we call the ghetto area.
Yes.
Where anything can happen. Family ties are not like well and everything. So you coming out as a miracle. How did you come out as a miracle?
I would say it is the grace of God. First of all, most importantly, it is the grace of God. And I'll give a lot of credit to my parents as well. Even though I don't not really believe that the parents, we have this African belief that, you train up a child and all that. But I've seen where children were well trained, well brought up. But when they get out of the house, just influence from friends and all that, they miss the path. So, but my parents' guidance and prayer, and then the help of God has actually kept me and my siblings. The truth is, when people see me, especially my teachers in school back then, when I was in secondary school, and they'll be asking me, like, it's surprising to them, like, how are you sure you are from this place? And it's always like that. That's why I see it as a miracle, because it is very, very rare, very, very rare to come from that place, that particular place. I can count with my fingers the number of people that I know are doing well now, that are not into drugs or fraud or, just, I still have some of them as friends. They are still very close to me. I don't push them away. We are still very close friends. But when seeing how God did it, and I didn't get involved in these things, that's why I call it a miracle. So,
because there may be people that are still there, or parents who are living there, or someone from that place that would see this, what did your parents do that was special?
Well, for my parents, basically, the most important thing is prayers. My mom especially, she's a prayer woman, and I believe that life is very spiritual, and everything you see, everything you do should be settled spiritually first before, beyond just talking to a child, telling him, don't do this, don't do that. You should be prayerful. And also, most importantly, I believe in leading by example. When you are telling your child, don't do this, and they are seeing something else, it's not going to work, because they will only take after what you're doing.
Sure.
So I saw my parents living the kind of life that they always tell us to live. They don't get involved in other people's business. They don't cheat people. They don't just do, and every when it comes to the things of God, they encourage us, and they are also involved. So when I saw those things, that's one of the things that guided me. That's one of the
Yeah, that's actually beautiful. Thank God for your mom for being prayerful, and because her prayers has kept you.
Yes,
You know, when if you read scripture, you actually see where Paul talked about Timothy's mom.
Yes.
How a prayer and his grandmom's prayer actually kind of brought him to the place that he was. And you talked about something very important, which I'm going to highlight before we even go into your spiritual life and how that was built for you to come to a place of knowing God personally. So you mentioned about parents having to lead by example. You know, I grew up hearing the rhetoric, do what I say, don't do what I do.
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
So, and somehow it sounds like hypocrisy, because how do I do what you say when what you really are saying is how you're living?
True.
Because by their fruit you shall know them.
Yes,
so with whichever profession you say with your mouth, that's not really what you're saying. What you're actually saying is really how you're living. So, and that can see the impact, because that is to speak to any parent. If you're listening and you're a parent, don't just talk to your children. What they see you do, how they see you act, matters more than any kind of word you are going to say, because I can relate to that, because growing up, I know that anything my parents say was just words. It goes here, goes out of here. But if those words are not carried by actions, like I see you say it and I see you do it, I see you live like it, then the words have no weight, because the weight of any word anybody says actually is carried through the action that they put to that word. I said, okay, don't steal. And then I see the way you are honest about anything you do.
Yes.
You may not be stealing, but if you are dishonest, that's a part of stealing actually. So, which means you're telling me, like, do as I do.
Yes.
Literally. So, but that is actually beautiful, and we need more parents, because I always believe that family is what makes up the society.
True, sir.
The society can't be built without families. If families have it right, the society will have it right. If marriages have it right, the society will have it right. And that's why I see the reason the enemy is really fighting family, fighting marriages, and getting the wrong people together, and getting people who are not of the same mission together. Because there's no how you get together, not of the same mission, not of the same purpose. Things are going to go out of hand.
True.
So, and that is why we thank God for some of our parents who, even though things were not perfect, the mother's prayer, the consistency of following God, even showing you the way of God, makes it beautiful. So let me ask this, because I'm curious about knowing, how did your Christian life develop?
Okay. From the beginning, for me, it was more mechanical. You know,
Explain.
It was more like just following. You know, we did not really have the knowledge of or the revelation of the person of Christ. You know, it was just as we see our parents and our older siblings going to church, in the choir. My sisters were all in the choir at that time, and even when I was still young, we were in the teenagers class. You know, attending Bible studies and all. But then I think growing up, the turning point for me was more of when I started getting to discover myself and know myself. Before I could even be around the time I finished secondary school or so, you know, I was having this deep thought, and I was like, I think I heard a message as at that time by Dr. Pastor Paul Enenche, and he said something. I can't say it verbatim, but then it was more like, why faking something that can actually be real? You know, why just living life casually when you can actually, you know, get to the actual depth of this thing? So I had to tell myself that I'm just living as a Christian, not an actual believer. Like, so I need to know more about Christ. So that was when I think that was a turning point for me. I think that was like in 2010, there about 10, 11. And I just started studying more Bible, getting more revelation, and I came to understand what's beyond the knowledge that my parent has impacted me, beyond the knowledge I got in church. You know, I started having a personal experience. You know, I started having an experiential knowledge of God. So that was how it started, and from there I grew. Okay,
that's actually beautiful. So, you know, everybody needs to have a turning point. Everybody does. Like, we have a lot of people who grew up Christians and feel like they know God.
Yes.
And what I always say to that is that sometimes a lot of people know about God,
Yes.
They have a lot of information about God, but they don't know him personally.
True.
Like right now, who can I use? It's like talking about Davido. We feel like we know Davido because we have a lot of information about him. Or Cristiano Ronaldo, we have a lot of information about him. Oh, we see everything we see online, but we don't know him.
Yes.
Because you don't have a personal relationship with him. It's only people that have personal interface with him that can tell you who he really is. So now, it's the same way we come to God. We go to church, grow up in church, and hear about God.
Yes.
They tell you about God. They keep telling you about God. There has to come a point whereby you say, who is this God? For me. Like personally, a personal place. So I believe that if you're listening and you've not had that, it's a thing to think about. Like you said, you had your aha moment when Dr. Paul Nietzsche said, why can you fake, like, why are you faking what can be real? What can be a real thing? And we walk around, we see that there are so many people who are just faking this thing.
True.
Like, I mean, they faked it up to becoming pastors.
True.
They faked it up to climbing up the stairs of the ladder of what they call profession, Christian profession. So being a pastor, being a worker in church or whichever level. And the more reason we have a lot of people who confess or profess Christ, but they don't live like him. So now I will go back to what you're passionate about. You said something that is not just about telling people about God, but it's about really seeing a change in them.
Yes.
What do you think we can do differently as a Christian?
Okay. I think I was having this kind of conversation with some of my friends recently. And I think that the church needs to play a bigger role in this aspect. I think the Bible says the mission is to go into the world and make disciples of men. Yeah. But it is now more like we are raising church members. You understand? So that has been one of my concerns. Like, it's just as if most churches are now more concerned about members and not disciples. So we have more church members than disciples, more Christians who are not disciples, because they've not really been put in the way of the Lord. Like, they don't even understand. They just come to church for the miracles. They come for the excitement, the praise and the worship. They just come and, when people like that get offended, they can get easily offended. They can just walk out on church because so and so the attention was not given to them. Yeah. But when these people have become disciples, it will now be easier because the work will now be easier. Even the pastor can rest, you understand? Yeah. So I think that the reason why there is a lot of challenges is because we are not raising disciples. We are just gathering congregations, mostly. So that's what I think.
That's actually, I think I agree with you. I think I agree with you because our focus has been shifted.
Yes.
And we can't lie and say that, okay, things are going well. We have so many churches. I think you mentioned it when you filled the form to come up here. You mentioned it in one of the things you said, that we have a lot of churches.
Yes.
But then it's like people have not changed.
True, sir.
People are still who they were before Christ. So it means after Christ, you're still the way you were before him. It's just that, I used to think about something that coming to God or coming to Christ is not about picking a piece of Christ to add to who you were.
True, sir.
And it's what somehow you see people portray. It's almost like, let me add God to this nonsense. Like, when God comes in, he takes the preeminence.
Yes.
Everything else has to give way.
Yes.
Which means all your past, all your idiosyncrasies, all your philosophy, human philosophy and everything has to give way. You don't add Christ to who you were. You allow him to change who you are.
True, sir. True.
Because if he doesn't really change who you are, and then, like you said about the church playing a bigger role, people can still argue and be like, what do you want the church to do? But truly, there is a lot that the church can do. Who is the church? The church is not the organization. Like Dunamis, like Winners Chapel, the church is not the organization. The church, you and I are the church. So, if we say we are children of God, I have different thoughts coming to my head. If we say we are children of God, how better can we be disciples? We are to be disciples, not to act like disciples, to be. It's a state of being. And, I'm going to share this thought because I have been having this thought. When we talk about Jesus telling the disciples, that they should go into Judea. That's Acts chapter 1 verse 8. That they will receive power to go and be like preach the gospel in Judea and all of that. And it did not say they should go and pretend to be witnesses.
Actual witnesses.
He said they should be witnesses. So, which means if I am a witness, it's my lifestyle before my words.
True, sir.
Like my words should match my action. And I would say this, I know it's a strong statement to say that if somehow the church somehow has deceived people to come into church because they want to make more members.
True.
Because the message that they preach to bring people in, they didn't tell them the full truth, the whole truth.
Yes.
They gave them a piece of what they desire to drag them in. It's almost like a trailer of a movie that will draw you in to watch the full movie. I'm not saying it's bad, but somehow people received that piece and came in and then they just lived like that.
Yes.
So you told them, if you come to God, He will give you a miracle. And then you receive the miracle and then you keep using God as, a means to an end.
Transactional.
So now, it's transactional. So now I need a job. Okay, God provides the job. I need this. Okay, I want to marry now. So now we have contributed to this. I'm saying we because I'm a part of the church.
True.
We have contributed to giving people this message because we are so excited to see people say, okay, I accept Jesus. Why? Do we give them the true message that says, Christ died for you and you coming to Him, you actually cost you. It will take a toll on your former life.
True.
Like coming to Him it's not something that is like, just a playful thing. Like once you come to Him, everything is okay. Everything is beautiful about your life. Coming to Him will make your life all the way beautiful.
True.
But of course, there's hope that your life will become purposeful and fulfilled. But it doesn't mean that you'll be richer than the next neighbor. Or you'll be bigger than the next person. Because those are the kind of blessings that even church leaders will give. Oh, you'll be richer than your neighbor. And that's selfishness, actually.
True, sir.
That's not Christ-like. So I actually appreciate that thought because somehow I can be passionate about this because it's the area that I really lean into and be like, can we do better?
Yes, sir.
So this is like saying a message that we need to do better. And if you call yourself a Christian, if you call yourself a child of God, live like it. Because the main thing Paul says in Corinthians that we are living epistles. That's 2 Corinthians. Is it 5 or 3? He says we are living epistles. Yes, so we are not just here to talk about Christ. We are here to live like Christ. The word Christians, in fact, I think there should not even be, if you're called a Christian, the name alone suffice. What's the meaning of being a Christian?
Christ-like.
You are like Christ. So are you? We don't even need to say, oh, believer. You are. This is what you believe. You believe in Christ.
Yes.
So, and that's why you are called the name Christian. That should suffice. We shouldn't be trying to dig, okay, are you just a Christian? Okay, are you a nominal Christian? Are you a transactional? Christian, you are like Christ. That should suffice, but we're living in a culture that doesn't suffice.
Yeah.
So, and I like the fact that you shared that passion, but if you are to take on a responsibility to help these young people, what would you do first?
Okay. You said something earlier when you were talking about living like Christ.
Yeah.
I think it begins first from, there's this saying that change begins with you.
Yeah.
It begins first with we living, not just in the church.
Yeah.
I think our work is not even in the church. It is outside the church.
Yeah.
I have this funny, this thing I want to share a story.
Yeah.
Of somebody that I know very well presently that is a worker in church.
Yeah.
But then the mode of dressing outside, when you see her outside, it doesn't point to somebody that knows God at all. And then when you try to confront these people, they will tell you that this is who they are, this and that and that and that. At the point where I had to even ask the particular person to just stay away. You don't have to be a worker now. And because what the testimonies we are getting from outside is not, so the thing is, like, I think it begins with, first of all, we living as Christ. I think they said it was in Antioch, they were called Christians. And it was not because of what they were saying. It was because of the way they were living first.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they saw, these people are behaving like Christ. Yeah. So they are Christ-like. So I think when we start living that way, then people can now, the community where we'll find ourselves, the society where we'll find ourselves, they can now start entrusting us enough to disciple them.
Yeah.
To show them the way. Because when we start living like Christ, definitely they will start seeing results. Say by their fruits. Our actions, our life will yield fruit. And when these people see the fruit of how we are living, when we come to them and say, I want to talk to you about Christ, I want to lead you to Christ, it will be very easy. It would be very easy because your actions has already laid a foundation.
Yeah.
But it will be more difficult when we are not representing what we claim to know, and then we want to still talk to people about it. I think recently one of the things I've noticed about evangelism, it is now more like a game of numbers. More like how many souls have you won? How many? And it's just, they go into the street and they talk to people.
Yeah.
And that's all. Just come to church, take flyer, come to church, and that's all. And these people will just collect it, and as you are leaving them, they will squeeze it and throw it away. And then that's the end. They don't even care. So, but I feel that when you meet these people, be intentional about them. Be intentional about the kind of life they are living. Be intentional about who you are introducing to them. And when they see that you are truly interested in them, I see there are people that I watch online that their approach to evangelism is totally different. You come to a person, you are not just about give your life to Christ, this and that. Like, how are you doing? What is going on with you? You want to know about, you may not even need to talk to the person about Christ immediately. And after a while, the person trusts you enough to open up to you about what is going on with them. That is where impact can start. And it may take a week, it may take a month, but eventually that soul will be won when you are intentional. Not the one you just meet and you have a 5-minute discussion and you give them flyer to come to church, and that's all. You don't know, if you see them the next day, you don't even recognize them. So I think that is where to start.
Why do you think people do that kind of evangelism?
I think the Christianity of nowadays is a lot, from what my own observation, I stand to be corrected, but then there's a lot of things I've observed, and I think we do a lot of things for prestige, for just for accolade, so that you'll be seen as an apostle, somebody that is doing very well. And I see a lot of things like that, and it's amazes me, because I think we've made this thing all about ourselves more than about God. We've made it more about ourselves. So it is as if people are just, you just want to add it so that they will know that in your church you are a very strong pillar. You are committed. Okay. This month I want 100 souls. Last month I want 200. So it is adding to your portfolio.
That's actually crazy, and I think I like you sharing that thought, that honest thought. If you are a Christian and you don't know how to think for yourself, I think that's a problem too.
True, sir.
Because we shouldn't build people who jump off of the back of another person's belief without getting to know God by themselves.
Yes, sir.
Like, we shouldn't aim to do that, because even the idea of evangelism, sometimes I kind of like feel weird about it, the way we do it.
Yes.
Now, like I said, I believe in evangelism that is like, I don't even believe in going out to the street and giving people flyers. I don't believe in that. That's personal. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it, but I'm just saying personal, I don't believe in that. So I wouldn't join that. Why don't I believe in that? You won't have enough time to even help the person that you're going out there to meet. Now, and you talked about the game of numbers that the church keep doing, which is, these people you're meeting are Christians already.
Exactly.
You're only inviting them to your church. So we're doing church transitions. Leave your church and join mine.
Another church.
So because they are already, most of the people you're meeting are already Christians. Like, they say they are Christians. So probably to them, what you are trying to say is, just leave your church. Come to my church. Let's populate my own church. And then, is that the kingdom we are trying to populate? We are not supposed to, okay, like, you are a Christian, I am a Christian, and we are not going to the same church. My duty is not to come to you and say, you have to come to my church, that my church has the best Jesus. And your church doesn't. Jesus is one.
One Jesus, yes, sir.
So, one God, one baptism, which is through the Holy Spirit. If, like, everything about God is that unity, but I see a place whereby, which I don't want to go into that conversation about the church being so divided. We are so divided amongst ourselves. We don't have the same mission. We don't have the same focus on Christ is not the head for many people, even though they talk it. The church is talk it, but Christ is not their goal. Really, there are so many other things. Because why I asked you, why do you think people do this kind of evangelism? Some people believe if they evangelize, God will bless them more.
Yes.
And if they win souls, God will bless them more. My question is, are you the one that wins the soul?
Mm-hmm.
Are you a soul winner?
Mm-hmm.
Can you win a soul?
Can you win a soul?
Because reality is, I don't believe I can win a soul.
Yes, sir.
The Holy Spirit wins souls.
Does work.
I am a vessel that He uses. Through me, He can win a soul, but I am not the one that wins a soul. So I can't take credit for it. Paul says something beautiful in Corinthians and says that we wear this treasure, we carry this treasure in earthen vessel, which means this earthen vessel, just like if you are given a cup that is filled with water, the water is important to the person than the vessel. So which means what is important is that water, not the vessel.
True.
The vessel has done its work, but they can't take the glory. It's the person that gave it. So, I know you get the point I'm trying to make. The reality is we are that vessel.
Yes.
To give people this water to drink. Jesus at that well with this woman says, give me water to drink. And they started that conversation. And the woman says, you don't even have something that I can use to draw water for you. And he says something important. That you don't know the gift of God. That if you would know the gift of God and He that tells you, give me to drink, that He will give you a living water. Which is a beautiful thought to me. And then making us see our thirst made her realize our need for this living water.
True.
Because what Jesus really led her into was making her realize that you're actually thirsty. And she was.
Very, very.
And in our culture, I don't know why I'm going here, we have a lot of thirst traps. Whether it's sexually, relationally, people are thirsty for a lot of things. People are thirsty for communion, fellowship with another person in relationship, in marriage and all of that. Because people are thirsty, people can be desperate. Thirst or hunger can lead you to desperation.
True.
And people that are hungry can just eat anything they see. Esau was hungry and he sold his birthright. And you can't tell a desperate person what to do and what not to do. So, first of all, if I were to meet someone talking about this evangelism still, what should I do? Discover where they are thirsty. Even if I see someone that is living a kind of lifestyle, promiscuous lifestyle, they are thirsty.
Yes.
There's a thirst in them. They're looking for something.
A vacuum.
So, my goal is not to just come to you and be like, give your life to Christ.
Yes.
That doesn't make sense to that person. Like, and what? And so if I give my life to Christ, what will happen next? The thing is, Jesus sat down because I think that's even what led me to, like I said, about this podcast. I sat down with that scripture and then it kept ministering to me. Conversation. Getting to know the person. And then in that conversation, he asked her, where is your husband? And then he knew everything. He didn't even need to ask. He could have gone to her like some prophet would do and expose her.
Yes.
You have 6 husbands. The one you're living with, you have 5 husbands. The one you're living with is not even your husband, which means you're fornicating. Give your life to. He didn't do that. He sat down to know her. So our duty is not to condemn people.
Yes.
Our duty is to get to know people. And then when you get to know people, you know what they're thirsty for. So in this regard, I'll just go to what you said your passion is. If I were to like put my thoughts there, when you meet young people, what are they thirsty for?
I think, most from my own experience, most of the people that I've met, the vacuum they are trying to fill is one of importance, self-worth.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the major things that a lot of them have been getting wrong.
Yeah.
They want to build an image for themselves. Almost every young person now wants to just be seen as that person.
Yeah.
Just to be seen. That is like the major thing for them. They want to be seen. That is why you see the average teenager is already into fraud. And then the money he makes, the first thing that he goes to buy is clothes.
To show off.
Expensive clothes to show off. And then expensive phone. And then maybe when the money gets big, he wants to buy a car just to impress people. So they want to be seen. They want to be seen. And then they just want to end poverty. And so that's like the basic thing for them. And at the end of the day, there is one particular, let me share the story of somebody I know, a young man, and he is into fraud. This guy got a lot of money, and I think he even went into diabolic. He went diabolic to the point that even if people around him are aware that his money is blood money, so some of his friends were even scared of coming around him.
Yeah.
He was so lonely that he pays people to come around. He was so lonely. Like, he needed, if you come around to visit him, it would be like, don't go. He wants to, like, what are you going to do now? Stay now. There is money. Let's go out. Let's go to the club. Let's go to this. So they just, it now goes beyond money for him.
It does, yeah.
Money was not even his problem anymore,
Yeah.
but there is an emptiness.
Yeah.
He can't even be in a space alone anymore.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of them has that challenge. That's like self-worth is like the first challenge I noticed.
Yeah. So, because before we get into even how to deal with that, now, why I thank God the Holy Spirit is actually leading this conversation the way it's going. Because if you don't get to discover what the test is, you won't know how to address it.
Yes, sir.
So now we know that the test for these people is finding an identity, finding self-worth, finding themselves. We can know how do we go about this. Because even if you want to give these people Jesus, they need to know what they are receiving.
True.
And what it's going to do for them.
True, sir.
How does Jesus help their sense of belonging? When young people join cultism, it's because they want to find a place of belonging.
Yes.
They want to feel like they belong somewhere. When young people go into fraud, like you say, they want to feel like they are important, they are something.
Yes.
And then truly, when they get these things, it makes them feel. But it's transient. It's for a very short time. And then it makes them feel that for a short time, and then it makes them feel more empty. That's why they need more.
Yes.
Because the dopamine, psychologically, the dopamine is a craving kind of chemical. Like, it's craving. It makes you crave for more. Money, power, sex, and whatever.
Yes.
So when you see young people get into this, it's finding that identity you talk about. How do we address the identity of a young person? How did you find yours?
Okay. For me, there's this vacuum, like we said, like we've established that there's a vacuum there that you need to be. But then, first of all, the first way out is to realize that vacuum cannot be filled by anything. Some persons who try drugs, they like you said, dopamine, it gets you very high and then it gets you low. And then you are looking for it again. So you keep coming back for more, and you realize that more cannot still fill. So for me, first of all, is to realize that vacuum is a God-sized vacuum. It can only be filled by God and nothing else. So accepting that first is like already 50% out of it. And then when you start seeking God, when you start sincerely seeking God, I used to tell my friends that the kind of excitement I get during worship sessions in church, praise sessions, I don't get it anywhere. Like, there's no movie or you can't get it anywhere. It's just different, and it is something. It's not temporal, like we said. Yes, it's not temporal. It's more like something that stays. So, and I think, like I said, it's just to understand that it is only God that can fill that space. So for them, it is introducing God to them. That's it, like the solution. It's just introducing God to them in the best way we can, and then letting them know that it is only God that can actually fill that space. And you need to that self-worth you're looking for, that importance that you're trying to get, money cannot give it. Money cannot give it. Women cannot give it. Men cannot give it. So, but when you have God, you realize, you talked about Apostle Paul. Apostle Paul, like we know him, before he became, he was a big person. He was not small. He wasn't. For him to be persecuting Christians and going up and down.
He had connections.
He had connections. He was a big person. He was more like a big person in the government. But I believe that when he encountered Christ, everything was stripped off him. I can imagine, I thought about that in one time. I can imagine the kind of persecution he will now get from the people that he was once friends with.
And he did.
Yes. So imagine losing all those things. But afterwards, after that time, he became, the kind of fulfillment he got from serving God was more than enough. So when he's saying stuff like, nevertheless, not I that live, but Christ that lives in me. So this is the way I think it is.
It's beautiful. For Paul to even come to a place of saying, all the things I counted as something, I count them as dung.
Yes.
Like all his accolades, all the things that he would have said, this is who I am. And like all those things he said, I count them but dung for the value of what? Knowing Christ. So now I wanted to read the scripture because you talked about these things, these highs that people get. It actually fuels them. Like I said, but it's temporary. So scripture says in Ephesians chapter 5 verse 18, don't be drunk with wine. Because that will ruin your life. Instead, be filled with the Holy Spirit, singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs among yourselves and making music to the Lord in your heart, and give thanks for everything to God the Father in the name of the Lord Jesus. I read that because of what you said, the fulfillment you find in worship.
Yes.
You know, people go to parties to get drunk, and getting drunk kind of fuels them in a way. They feel high, but then for the scripture to put this, don't be drunk with wine, as the opposite of what to do if you're not drunk with wine is to be filled with the Spirit and soak yourself in worship. It means there's something about it. When you drink wine, it gets you intoxicated, it gets you high. And it's trying to tell you what the high that surpasses the kind of high you get is actually the Holy Spirit.
Yes, sir.
Why I had to read this, because when immediately you mentioned it, I've felt it. I can resonate with it. I can stay in this place just with my guitar and worship, and I feel so fulfilled. There was a time in my life as a young person that I was walking in one street when I was in Uyo in Akwa Ibom State, and that very evening, I don't know, I was just feeling empty. Like I just felt empty. And what that to me was, what should I do with my life? What can I do with my life? What is my purpose? Because I felt like without having something to do, I'm not important. The importance can be tied to someone feeling like from where they come from, they don't know what can become of their life.
Yes.
Like you came out from a place that was like a ghetto area. Because of the reality of coming from that place, you can feel like nobody here has become anything. How can you become something? It can feel so empty.
Yes.
It can feel challenging because it's like a stronghold. It's a place that feels like a stronghold. How can you find purpose? Because even when you found Christ, it doesn't mean that feeling will go away.
Yes.
But then, like you mentioned, every human has that hole, that God hole, that even if you achieve everything, even if you get to the peak of your career and feel like, when I have this, I'll be satisfied, you have that and still feel unsatisfied.
Yes, sir.
That money that you get to have, you can use it to solve many of your problems, your earthly problems, but it doesn't mean that you solve your soul problem.
True, sir.
So which means the base of finding yourself is actually finding who made you.
Yes,
where are you
sir.
from? Because that's the question we ask. We ask from people, where are you from? That's what forms your identity. True. If I would ask you, where are you from? Your state of origin is what forms your identity. Now, when you tell me your state of origin, I start relating you with the people that come from that place. I start making your identity about the people. Okay, like somebody will be like, Akwa Ibom men are this, Akwa Ibom men are that. If I tell people I'm from Akwa Ibom, the next thing that will get to their head is that origin. How that can be who I am based on what they've heard.
Yes, sir.
So, and just like with any place that people come from, if somebody tells you, I am a person from this particular culture, immediately that forms an identity.
Yes, sir.
So then, as humans, where are we from? That is the origin. The place of origin is the place of identity and self-worth. God made us. We are from God. So if I am, I think I read the book of John, when I saw it, it said, a man from God. And all of that, like I think John chapter 1, talking about John, that a man sent from God and all of that. Yes. So it's clear we are all sent from God, all humans.
Yes.
We are made by God. We are sent from God to earth for a mission on earth. And that forms our identity. That place of origin forms who we are.
Yes, sir. So
that's why Christ's coming was to restore that sense of self-worth. And that is even the main reason we ask people to receive Christ. Not because they will go to heaven, but to receive Christ because Christ is their heaven. If you have him, it's already an assurance, blessed assurance. Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of heaven. So if I don't have him, then there's no foretaste of heaven.
True.
But if I get him because I want to test heaven, then it means I've been given a wrong theology. So coming to this, having this origin, Colossians 2:10 says, you are complete in Christ.
Yes.
So if I know that I am complete in Christ, now the message I bring to these people that are thirsty for identity should be different. Because now I understand where they are.
Yes.
I understand how they feel. I can share my vulnerable and transparent stories with them, letting them know that I have been here.
Yes.
Not making it look like they are the only people that are in that place. I've been where you are, and I just believe I have to tell you this now. Because of where you came from, you will be the right person to speak to the people there. You will be the right voice because you know how it felt
to be there,
to come from that place, to be there, to experience the things, to see the things that happen there. So that if you were to sit a young person down there and be like, you see the lifestyle here, the culture that was curated here has become an identity for the people from this place.
True.
But then that's why those people will want to feel among a sense of belonging. Let me smoke like them. Let me drink like them. Let me behave like them. It's already become a culture. It's an identity. Culture gives people identity.
Yes.
But now, if they come to discover that, what is the end of this? It destroys. It ruins their life. Then, how did you come to a new culture that you came to have? That's when to present, not to just go to them and be like, receive Christ, your life will change.
Yes, sir.
It's coming from, do you understand where they come from? Jesus and that woman, I don't know why I keep going back there. He had to dig to the root of our problem to know our thirst before he can bring her out of that place of, okay, I know where you are thirsty.
Yes.
You're looking for a man. You want to be seen.
Yes.
You want to be known. You want to be heard. All the 5 men you got married to did not hear you. Even this one that you are living with, even though you're not married to him, he has not heard you. He hasn't seen you. And he says, I see you.
Yes.
All he was telling her was, I see you. I know that you have all these people. You've been married to 5 men. The one you're living with is not your husband. But then you've done so well to say, I don't have a husband. Complimented her.
Yes. Made
her feel seen. So if we are going to be good Christians, let me use the word good Christians, we have to understand how to empathize with people.
Yes, sir. Empathy.
Because if I want to change you or I want to see you change, if I cannot empathize with where you are, how can I do anything to help you?
We are very judgmental.
You can talk about that.
Yes. That's it. When you mentioned that word empathy, it resonated with me because I see a lot of Christians, even in church, like, you people that come to church, there's a way we even look at them.
Yeah.
There's a way we address when they are coming to church for the first time, maybe they are looking sort of way. There's a way we address them because we just feel this person does not belong here.
Yeah.
And I think it defeats the aim of the death of the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, because he came for these people.
Yeah.
And now you are pushing them away because you feel what is this one doing in church? Why is he here? Why is he dressed like this? And then we tend to want to chase. There's nothing wrong with correcting, but pushing people away because we feel they don't belong in our cycle, because we feel
they don't look like us.
They don't look like us. I don't think it's correct. And that's where that empathy comes in. When we are empathizing with people, it will be easy to relate to them, and it will be easy to preach Christ to them as well.
I actually appreciate you saying that, because I long for a situation whereby church can be so real. I mean, so real to the point that you allow people to be people.
Yes, sir. So
that they can experience God by themselves. If that woman was not her true self, I don't think she would have experienced transformation.
Yes, sir.
She was her true self. She was just stating it as it was. Now, even if you go to the context, nobody goes out in the afternoon, that hot afternoon, to go and fetch water.
Yes, sir.
And the Bible even made it clear if you study it, that Jesus had needs to be there, which means Jesus, almost like I fixed an appointment, I need to meet this woman today.
Yes.
Because normally, if you check the Middle Eastern culture, women go out either early in the morning or late in the evening to go and fetch. This woman went out in the afternoon. What was she doing? Trying to avoid people. So before people would come here, do you know, they already know that you're going to look at them a certain way. And then you just confirm their bias. You just confirm it, like, I already know that you people are going to look like,
to judge me.
Immediately they come, they know they don't look like you guys. They're already feeling it. They already know it. Anyway somebody behaves and dresses, they know they don't look like you.
They know.
It's Satan. It's Satan to them. Now, how you approach them will matter.
True.
Because now, the ball is now in your court to know, how do I approach this person? Is it with love or with judgment? Empathy will make me approach this person with love. But if I feel like I am self-righteous, I will now go with judgment. You're not supposed to be dressing like this. In fact, even correction in church should happen as a result of relationship.
Exactly.
You don't just correct people because you want to correct. How do you correct someone you don't know? If somebody corrects me and they don't know me, probably you don't know the reason I dressed this way. You don't know if probably I couldn't iron my clothes. I just had to come to church and I dressed like I didn't look the part. And then immediately you come, you didn't even know me. You're just like this. You're not supposed to just, do you know me?
Mm-hmm.
The young person that you're seeing, they're dressing in a kind of clothes you feel like, have you gone to try to meet them and know them, know their story? Probably they don't even have any other dress.
That's true.
So you guys went out for evangelism, preached to her, told her, come to church like you are. And now she decided to say, okay, I will come. And that's the only dress she has.
She has.
And she wore it to church. Because you guys are so particular about your doctrine and your dogma. You decided to go and tell her, next time, don't we, this skirt is too short. You are going to seduce the men in the church. Why do we even have men in church who are moved by those things?
Oh God.
Anyways, let me not take this talk, so continue.
You said something about, correction.
Yeah.
Should be, as a product of relationship. Yeah. And I think that is very profound because there is this thing I always tell my friends. I say, see, impact is more effective via influence.
Yeah, you're
when
right.
you don't have influence on a particular people, impact will be minimal. And that's one of the things that a lot of us don't understand. We tend to distance ourselves from people. Yeah. And when we don't have influence, like it would be easy if we are friends.
Yeah.
And then maybe I am doing something that is not correct. You can come to me and say, Abraham, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? This is not correct. This is not correct. And I was like, I will explain the reason why I'm doing it. I'm like, okay, but this would be a better reason not to do it.
That's right.
And I will reason with you because you are my friend.
Yeah.
Or you are, even if you're not my friend, you are like a higher authority that I look up to because you have a relationship.
Yeah.
But not that you are distant and then I see you as one and then you come and you're telling me, don't do this, don't do this. Even if I maybe respected you at that point, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
It doesn't change anything.
If you want to have an impact, we are supposed to have an influence. Yeah. If we cannot have an impact on a place, we don't have influence. And that's one of the things I think Christians need to look. Like you said about the woman at the well. Jesus Christ he didn't come to her as a prophet or as an authority figure and say
Savior.
This and that and that. No. He first related to her as a friend.
Yeah.
He showed himself friendly. And one of the profound things that happened after that encounter was the fact that she was the one that carried the message
by herself.
So I think
without being asked.
I think when we have this influence on people like this, we don't even need, after talking to them a little about God, they are going to be the one to carry this message.
They have experienced it. They don't just hear about it. They have experienced it.
They've experienced it. So I think that's the best way to influence is the best way to get.
No, you're right, because let's look at a culture, right? Before we conclude, because of time, you can always come and we can talk about other things, but because I really wanted to ask you about the impact the trauma you experienced from where you grew up and how it has affected your life. But if you have small time, you just shed light on that. But what you say is very important because look at even the Lodo uprising that people are talking about. It cannot be unless there is influence.
Yes, sir.
These people have had influence on the culture. Music and every other thing, they have had influence on the culture. Because of that influence, they're having impact. You can say till tomorrow, Olodo this thing, Olodo that. The thing is influential.
Very, very.
So they are making impact because there is influence in it. And we cannot deny it.
True.
Now, the church is not influencing people. Rather, we are bringing more complicated things to ourselves. We are making these people look at the church like, these people are fake. They've been lying because of some of our men of God go out there and just talk.
Yes.
And just talk. The thing is, these people respect you. But then they have now come to a place of, we are not going to respect you again. You just talk. Because you can't be talking anyhow.
Yes.
You should also understand the context of the culture that we are in right now.
True.
If you get to a particular culture, you have to understand the culture first before you can move along. But if you don't understand the culture, you cannot change anything about that culture.
True, sir.
Why did Jesus come through the Jewish route and then decided to practice what they did? He didn't come to affirm it. He came to actually change things.
Yes.
But he didn't come starting with challenging what they were doing.
Yes,
he practiced it. He understood what they were doing and became a Jew, did all the Jewish rites. And then when he began his ministry, he started challenging the norms.
Yes.
Healing outside of the Sabbath. And they were telling him, you're not supposed to heal on the Sabbath. And it was like, the Son of Man was made for, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. He started challenging, but he wouldn't have challenged unless he practiced. Had it been he just came in and started saying, you people should throw away this, throw away that, they were just looking at him, what are you doing? but he has been a part of this.
Yes, sir.
And he says, now we can correct this. This is the right way to do it. So we can keep going, but I'll need you to just share in a bit where you came from. How did it affect you? And how is it affecting? Is it still affecting you?
Okay. All right. I wouldn't say it's still affecting me, but I think it's a process. Yeah. But then it definitely has affected me in lots of ways, in decisions I've made in the past and the way, I've come, the way I've grown. And I think majorly, one of the major parts is the fact that, I'm coming from a place where I've not seen things being done, like, growing up as a young child and teenager, and even a young adult, I didn't see possibilities, So I think there is a little setback that it has given to me, in the sense that there are things that if I had known 10 years back or 15 years back, by now it would have, my journey would have been, I don't know if you understand.
I get you, but I'm going to pause you.
Yes, sir.
That word just hit me. I did not see possibilities. What do you think? I need you to expound on that before you even continue.
Okay.
Expound on what do you mean by I did not see possibilities, and how was it? Why was it so important that you need to see possibilities?
The thing is, when I say I didn't see possibilities, is that living in the streets where it's just there is what a ghetto is. You are not seeing the big dreams. You don't even know what you need to see for you to have dreams. At least you need to picture something first. The only pictures we had were in movies, and even the movies were not even so exposed to some of these things. So it was a small world for us. So at that point, the only dream you had is I want to go to school to become a medical doctor. It's just because I see my parent, my dad works in a hospital. So he takes me to the hospital where he works when I was still very young. Sometimes so that's the basic big pictures you see. So the thing about impacting your world, seeing people going far, people touching lives and all that, it wasn't even coming to the picture because you are not even seeing these things. But so it was when I grew up. I grew up to a point where I could make decisions on my own. I could go out. That was when we started seeing the big picture, and there's still a life beyond this place. There's still a life beyond just being a local champion, just being, So that was when we started building a picture and started daring to dream big. You understand? So I think for me, the impact of that would be that, I would say it's like maybe a little setback.
It stalled your progress.
Yes.
What is the most transformational advice you've heard in your life? Just help us.
Okay, I would say one of the most transformational advice I've heard, because there are lots of them. But one of the most is it's a word from Dr. Pastor Paul Nenche. Say you should picture a future. So because it is a future that a future that you picture that you can capture. So for me, it is a push to dream big. To don't limit your vision. Don't limit your thoughts. You can. There is no limit to what you can achieve.
That's true.
And also to trust God in every process of your journey as you go. So I think that's one of the most big picture for me. That's one of the most big
transformational thing you've heard.
Yes.
So thank you so much for actually coming to share on Godly Conversations. We are grateful to have you, and I am grateful to have you. I love it, bro.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I believe this is going to touch everybody that listens to it, because there are so many, we went to so many places in talking about this. And if you're listening and watching, you are not yet subscribed to the channel, I'd like you to hit the subscribe button, subscribe to Godly Conversations, follow on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and then leave a comment. Let us know what you think about today's episode. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you, and I love you. Bye. Thank you so much for watching this conversation. I love you so much. Take a moment and share with me what stood out for you in today's episode of Godly Conversations podcast. It is going to help someone who is listening and maybe going through the comments to relate with what they are learning also. And I want you to do one other thing for me. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe to this YouTube channel. That is your way of supporting this podcast. And One more thing. I want to see you in the next episode, just right here.